Back to Contemporary Black Voices. And today our topic has been how vouchers, this whole voucher movement is going to impact kids in the inner city going to public schools. And I think Dr. Smith has given us a pretty good idea of what happened in New Orleans. Um, and he really brought something to me. I don't know why I thought that Scott charter schools were not for profit, but they're for profit, and so they're like in the private sector, right?
Right.
But they under the control? Do they have to follow the rules of the Texas Education System?
Um, they have to follow, whatever the state, because the state has the responsibility for education, not the federal government.
Right.
So whatever the state requirements are, like graduation requirements and things like that, they have to follow those.
How about textbooks? Let's say all of us start a charter school, and we're going to concentrate on teaching Black history the way it should be taught, and we're going to use a Black historian's history book to teach history. Could we do that? Will we be in violation of the Texas education system?
No, you could use any type of textbook that you want. The thing is when they assess the kids at the end of the year, then the kids have to meet those assessment requirements. And so if you have texts that are removed from the test or something that Texas gives, then those kids won't show it. An additional thing is with the Texas process, Texas is not part of the federal government educational system. There are only two states that have pulled away from it. Texas is one of them. I think Oregon's the other. So they don't necessarily care to follow the federal outline. So the test that these children take here in Texas, the TAS test, or what they call it, those tests, when correlated with the ACT, which is what most of the kids take, they don't correlate as well. So in other words, because of Texas is not having, following the outline of the feds, the children here are not scoring as well as the children in the states that are doing it. And the normal pace to tests across the country is the ACT, the Academic Achievement Test, looks at your achievement. So when you compare the scores of the kids taking the ACT to the kids who are taking the TAS test, the tests they have in Texas, they have, the last I saw, they're at least 10% lower.
Well, you mentioned at the very beginning, it sends chills through my body whenever you talk about the states being in control of anything, anything, because our history as Black people reveals how we were bludgeoned and treated when states had power. It's only when the federal government moved in and took control that has changed to a certain degree. So the fact that Texas has control, I think we all would agree, coming out of the Texas Education Association, that it's not beneficial to our kids. They want to teach history the way they perceive it and not the way it really happened. So, but getting back to this voucher thing, if if that continues, if they pass that law in the House, and everybody out there, you should all pay close attention to this because for a lot of you all, for all of us, how our kids are being treated in public schools is important. Every one of us up here pays taxes. And I'm not so sure I want my tax money to go to the Gervin school so they can get rich or ideal school so they can get rich. So I think we all should pay attention to what's going to happen in the House of Representatives. The governor has said he will introduce that bill every other month if he has to call it. And the governor's the only one who can call it special session in Texas, but he'll keep doing that. So,
Yes.
go ahead.
Dr. Smith, thank you for being here. I would like to ask a few questions, but I'm only going to make it one. And that's about money. Right now, schools are financed with property tax. What happens when it goes to voucher and the money is going to actually come from the state? What happens to that money locally that was given to those independent school districts?
Well, you have to go back to Brown versus Board of Education. That was the whole purpose of Brown versus Board of Education, separate but equal, because in the predominantly Black communities, you didn't have labs and things like that, and so you had the fact that you desegregated schools in order to provide the additional education opportunities for African American children. The intent was at the schools where the kids were, they would be improved. The thing that actually happened with boards of education is says, we're not going to put that money in there with those Black children. We're going to bus the Black children to these schools where the money will go. So the discrepancy remains because the wealth of the communities will determine how much money their kids will get if the state or the city does not decide that each school will get equal money, and whatever deficiencies are in a school because of lack of facilities and things, those things would be made up.
Well, let me follow up real quickly. I'm not so sure I got the answer, but I know that when you have these schools, like Texas is really crazy with these independent school districts. So why do I have, I'm living, trying to make it. I've got a kid who's in Sam Houston, okay? But now I hit the lottery. So I'm moving up to the Stone Oak area or to the Murney or whatever. So my dollars for my school leave Sam Houston and goes to that other school district, which I don't think is fair. Because I did better in life, okay, then I'm taking my money and I want to improve where I'm living, but that means that I've got to take the money and can't help those kids where I was at.
You sound like a socialist.
You know what, Chris? There was that argument was taken, and that's when the Robin Hood Act came into effect, where they were trying to take money from the wealthy districts and give some money to the poor districts. And you really mentioned a good point in that we were just talking about it, that San Antonio School District is an aging school district. Yes, it's being gentrified, but not at the rate that Northside ISD is growing, where you've got homes ranging from 300,000 up to the millions in that one district. So the property taxes that district is getting on top of what the state gives is helping those schools build, phenomenal schools, whereas there isn't that much property taxes being generated over here in SAISD, to where that the state rate won't help them keep up to build the monument type, the master schools you see in Northside or even in Northeast School District.
Yeah, old communities normally have old schools. And so the cost of education of those schools can be higher if they want to upgrade, but the money they get isn't going to be any more than the allocation of that community, because it's based on property tax. So you don't get as many taxes for poor communities as you do from the welfare.
That's kind of my question. I was Dr. Shadow, what I was talking about. So whereas in SAISD may spend a little over $8,000 per kid, and the voucher is for about 8,000. Say some of the school districts like you have like on the outskirts of Austin, like a Lake Travis or a Westlake, where they're spending a ridiculous amount per kid. Let's say 15 to 17,000 per kid. So how do the numbers work? If you could explain how the numbers will work on that. If the state is kicking in 8,000, but right now they're getting 17,000, they're spending 17,000 per kid, how do those numbers balance out?
Well, you know, you have boards of education, and the boards of education will have the responsibility of seeing that there is some equity. That money, and within those schools, you know, there's additional monies that the process where you can get additional monies in there because of the wealth of that school. If you know, if I'm paying $150,000 for my home in the area, and somebody else is paying $450,000 in the home, that money is not necessarily equally distributed among all of the schools. And a lot of that has to do, again, within the organization, how they decide that they're going to. The state says you have this much, but if locally you're bringing in this much, you have additional monies to do it within that community.
And that's one of the problems that they bring up, is that why should a school district that's giving their child, like it comes to 17,000, get the 8,000 additional, and it's not fair for the child that's only getting the 8,000. That's the Democrat, one of the Democrats arguing against
So,
it.
and I mean, I'm wondering like so the district, because again, the money that they're spending, the district spending 17,000 per kid, right? Part of that's coming from the state, but the charter is a completely separate entity, right? It's a private entity. So how would you transfer state funds, like stuff that comes from property taxes? How would that be transferred over to a private firm like a charter school? You understand what I'm saying? So it seems to me there would be some kind of a gap or some kind of deficiency between the 8,000 and the other $9,000.
Well, what changes is that, you know, each district has opportunities to improve facilities. So if that facility, if I want to improve, if I'm Justin and I want to build a new stadium,
You do a bond.
I give it to my community, and my community says with bond issues and all, yeah, we approve that money, so you can take that bond issue and make adjustments so we have a nicer, more up-to-date facility, or you can do that with the schools. So those are done with bond issues within various communities to go to the people and say, we need more money to do that.
I think the question you're asking, I think the question you're asking is this,
Quickly.
is how will the charter schools get access to the property taxes?
That's what I'm asking.
And
How,
no,
because it
you only
seems like
get-
the kids would lose out.
You know, they get access only to the state funding.
Exactly. That's
Right.
Okay, we're about out of time. Dr. Smith, thank you for coming in and being our guest
My pleasure.
at Contemporary Black Voices. So we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to go to our usual hot topics. And it's a hot one this time.